Oh hi, sorry, I was just editing my PhD thesis. So what's up YouTube? Welcome to MD-PhD Live. My name is Kai Wei. Many of you have reached out to me asking me what is MD, what is PhD and what's MD-PhD program. And some prospective students have also reached out to me to ask me what's the value of doing PhD within the medical school curriculum. Today I'll be talking about this and much more. If you are interested in this, stay tuned. Hi, welcome back. So in today's video, I'll be talking about what is MD, PhD and MD-PhD. I will then talk about why do MD-PhD when it's such a long journey. What is the value and what are the reasons not to do it. I will then talk about what is the difference in career trajectory for MD-PhD versus the MD or the PhD counterpart. For those who are only interested in a particular segment, you can go down to the description box to pick up the exact time point where I'll talk about the individual topics. And with that, I will begin proper. So what is MD program? So MD is short for Doctor of Medicine and PhD is short for Doctor of Philosophy. That's accredited to the highest pursuit of knowledge. The MD program and the PhD program are mutually exclusive, with the MD program focuses on clinical training while PhD training focuses on research. The MD program is a 4 years long program with fixed curriculum which aims to train students to be able to function as intern doctors or house officers at the end of the 4th year. The student will then graduate from medical school, move on to the hospital to be trained in the residency program such as internal medicine or general surgery. In comparison, PhD has no fixed curriculum. PhD is a research degree, with students only earning their degree through generating original research in the form of dissertation. This research needs to expand the current boundaries of knowledge. Only then will the students be awarded a PhD. And like what I have been through recently, exactly 3 weeks ago, these students will need to present their research in a panel of audience or a panel of scientists, and they have to defend their ideas before a panel expert. These PhD graduates will then move on to academic jobs such as postdoctoral fellows or go into industry to work as a scientist. There are also successful PhD graduates that move on to other non-research jobs such as scientific writer. They can even open a startup. What else? They can also go into sales or application scientists. The possibilities for PhD graduate is kind of endless, meaning that a PhD degree is pretty versatile as compared the MD counterparts. They will mainly work as medical doctors in hospitals where they will either go into specialization or non-specialized fields. The MD-PhD is a combination of these two separate programs together as a combined program. Currently, Duke NUS is the only school that offers the MD program, and Duke NUS is the only school that offers the MD-PhD program. So the MD-PhD program is because the combination of two programs, it normally averages around 7 to 8 years, which is longer than primary school and sometimes even secondary school added together. In Duke NUS, students that are undergoing the MD-PhD program will first do 2 years of MD training, followed by 4 to 5 years of PhD training, before ending with 1 final year of MD training. With that many years in MD-PhD program, you ask me what then is the value of a combined MD-PhD program? Because when your peers are already working either in the scientific field or medical field, after their training, you will still be a student and you will be there wondering and questioning yourself, why is it that you do this long program? And that is what I'll be talking about today. Before I go any further, just as a disclaimer, whatever I say here represents my own personal opinions and it doesn't represent the opinions of the school or any institution that I belong to. So I guess to put my opinions into perspective, I should share a bit about my background. So since young, I've been interested in cancer, or more specifically, how to treat cancer. And that made me very interested in both biology and chemistry. I came from Rulang Primary School, then I went to Danyan Secondary School, followed by Catholic Junior College, before doing two years of national service, and because all the while I'm interested in biology, I went on to study biological sciences in Nanyang Technological University. So initially, I'm more interested in pursuing a PhD because I'm interested in cancer research. But my experiences during NTU changed the way I perceive how I want research to be. So during year 3 of NTU, I went for an exchange to Karolinska Institute, which is located in Sweden, Stockholm. So I went there to study 2 modules. One goes in depth into the biology of cancer, which I'm interested in, and the second one is on the molecular perspective of medicine. So Karolinska Institute was very interesting because they integrated their scientific program deep within the medical program. So science students like us were also given the privilege to visit patients within the ward to understand their story and their cancer journey. And this also inspired us to try to figure out maybe a better way of treating cancers, because now we have this personal approach. So that was when the idea of pursuing MD or like a medical degree start growing in my mind. And it's the 4th year of NTU when I'm doing my final year project, when I realized that I really want to have a good medical training. Or rather, that's when I realized that I lack the medical lens to allow me to think about how to translate basic science research that can change the medical landscape. That happened when I was writing my first paper, when I'm trying to relate whatever basic science research I did to a clinical or medical relevance. Then I realized that while many interesting science can occur, I want to do research that is highly medically relevant, in the sense that I want to go to the bedside to see problems or medical problems where I can bring back to the bench in the lab to identify solutions for me to then translate back to helping patients. I remember when I first decided to pursue an MD-PhD program, I was excited for like weeks, because I see the combination of both these fields together to create something that can directly impact lives. I mean, that is a very naive perspective, but that was what I thought then. So that was why I decided to pursue this long journey that is MD-PhD. You will not see the value of MD-PhD during your medical training. In fact, you just think that, oh, I'm in a much longer program than my MD counterparts. And that's where it starts to get you. The only time that I started seeing the value of being an MD-PhD is during my PhD years. Having 1 year of preclinical training where you learn most of basic medical knowledge such as anatomy and physiology and the various disease processes, and having 1 clinical year that you get to interact with patients, you get to work in the front line. With those 2 years of clinical training, even though it's very short, you start to be able to take on this medical lens that most PhD scientists do not have, because they do not have any experience in the sort of quote-unquote front lines. To put this in an analogy, I have to quote Prof. Teng Chung Hua. So he brought up this analogy during one of his lecture. So he said, medical doctors are like soldiers fighting in the front lines, and PhD scientists are like the gun designers. The scientists can design like guns or like bullets that curve, but the doctors that is at the front line wouldn't use it, because when they use it, they realize that the curved bullet actually resulted in friendly fire. You can see like you need to have the lens of the front line to be able to know what the soldiers need to design those equipment for them. So being an MD-PhD allows you to know the problem, or to even be on the front lines, to know the problem organically, and to bring that problem back to the bench or the labs, where you can start designing solutions to tackle these problems. And that for me is the first and the most relevant benefits of being an MD-PhD. At this point, some of you all probably will say, but Kaiwei, you don't need a PhD to do medical research. And you are right, because an MD or MBBS doctor can also do clinical research, and if they want to, they can also pursue basic science research. And that allows me to go to my second point, which is protected time. So an MD-PhD program, you'll be doing your PhD during your medical school time or medical school curriculum. Meaning at that point of time, you're still not a practicing physician yet. And because you are doing your research training during your medical school curriculum, you are basically just a student. Meaning that you don't have to divide your time up to both seeing the patient and also to dive deep into scientific training. Which personally, I believe if you want to have a good scientific training, you need to spend time, and you need to spend protected time that you have 100% of your mind focusing on science and not like split up. But there are exceptions that manage to dive in to do a full PhD even though they are practicing clinicians. That's when some of my clinicians friends that are doing PhD, they will complain that they actually have to spend 200% of their time, with 100% of the time being in clinic and the other 100% of the time being in scientific training, which is very, very challenging. And add on to it that at a point of time when you're doing a scientific training, you could already also have a family, married, and all these will also take time away from research training. So now that it's not impossible for a clinician to go into deep science, it is just more challenging to do so. So the third point for doing an MD-PhD is to develop connections. Having deep dive into both scientific domain and in the future medical domain, you'll be able to develop connection to people that is from both fields, especially expert that you can get their advice from in the future. So right now, because my PhD training is on the development of probe, I get to be able to hang out with experts that expert in in silico processes, the development of probe, without going too much into detail. And also because I'm interested in the application of this probe in nuclear medicine, in the future I also hope to specialize into the field of nuclear medicine. And you can imagine if in the future when that is possible, I can then tap on to the experts, the scientific experts that are good in probe development, and during my day-to-day practice I can identify like potential like maybe drug targets or biomarkers that I want to target. Using the connection I have and also the expertise I have, then I can develop this probe and I can use it in the clinics. So above are the three main benefits that I feel that MD-PhD gives. So firstly, you can identify gaps that are medically relevant. Secondly, you have protected time to delve deep into science. And thirdly, you are able to build connection in both domains that will enable you to have success in your future career. The last tangible benefit that this MD-PhD program provides is when you're under PhD program, you're actually under this MD-PhD scholarship. And this scholarship actually pays for your medical school fee, which can rack up to around like I think 180 or 190 or even $200,000 for 4 years of medical training. So imagine not having that amount of money as debt. That will start you off pretty well. Plus, during the 4 years of a PhD, you're also being paid stipend that is pretty substantial. Having said that, please do not go into an MD-PhD program just so that you can have your MD school fee covered. Because the journey of PhD is also not easy, and I went through that myself. To do justice to the amount of training and the amount of things you go through in PhD, I will do a separate video to talk about PhD program. But if you are not interested in PhD, please do not do it, because that will cause you to have like unnecessary agony and struggles. I hope this video is helpful for those prospective students that are applying for MD-PhD program or considering MD-PhD program. If you have any further questions or queries that you want me to answer, please feel free to comment down below and I will address them or even make a video. Oh gosh, this video already reached around 15 minutes. So I guess to talk more about the other nuances such as like why not to do MD-PhD or why not to do PhD or MD or any other such topics, I will have to create new videos. So if you like this content, please like, subscribe and comment below what you like about this video. Looking forward to making the next video so we can talk more about MD-PhD. Kai Wei signing off.